Can I ask who made the intro? Who made the intro?
Magic.
No, it was good. It's very good.
Yeah, it was magic. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the CreatureCast, the official Console Creatures podcast. I'm your host today, Steve Egvar, and alongside me, I've got my good pal, Bobby. Bobby, how the heck are you?
I am feeling spritey.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you're stellar.
I'm not stellar.
Ooh.
I'm not that beautiful. I'm spritey.
You stop it. You are stellar.
Okay, I'll take it. I am.
Jesus, it's getting awkward real quick. Way to go.
Is it because
I started off with a compliment. I was like, that intro is very good. I thought it was very well done. I like the music. It's very well done.
I put it together in 5 seconds because we needed something.
It's I thought it was done well. It actually goes well. I actually like the words. Like it has a je ne sais quoi.
Now I feel self-conscious.
No,
you always do good intros. It's literally learning from you.
Such great intros that you can see weekly on PlayStation Generation. Two co-hosts, Court, Matt. We had to have you on the show for this one. How are you both?
I'm feeling wonderful. I'm feeling ready. I'm ready to talk about the plot of Stellar Blade. I'm ready to talk about the assets of Stellar Blade. I'm just ready to talk about Stellar Blade. You know, you feel me?
Oh,
I'm feeling stellar as well.
Oh, great. I'm so glad we're all feeling stellar because, yeah, this is a very special episode. We're going to be talking about Shift Up's upcoming game, Stellar Blade. This is a PlayStation 5 exclusive. It wasn't always going to be, though.
Oh, no?
No. Back when it was first announced as Project Eve back in the day, it was announced for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC.
Oh, wow. It's that old, eh? I didn't know how long ago they had.
PlayStation got
aggressive. Yeah, they definitely saw something here. They saw is similar to kind of like Rise of the Ronin, where, you know, they were like, we're aggressively going to make sure this game is ours.
I feel this is a very PlayStation game.
Right? It feels
like it's very
like it's PlayStation DNA.
Yeah. I dare say I don't know why I got a lot of Death Stranding vibes a lot of the times while playing this. Like a lot of
into that,
vibes.
I feel that, yeah.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I wasn't the only one because I was late to Death Stranding and I liked it. And I know that's remember I messaged you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you're part of the
sound design.
You're on the right side of history.
Probably some of the best in modern video games.
Yeah. So Shift Up, new to the console space entirely. They've only released one other game. It was an iOS and Android game called Goddess of Victory. Nikki, I believe, is the Nikke. Nikki.
Sure.
Yeah, it sounds right.
We'll trust you.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but just gonna jump in. Like they have a couple of founders that did some really cool JRPGs from Xbox 360. So if you ever played Magna Carta, like they worked on those games.
Xbox 360? No, I'm kidding. Yeah. To throw in like
surprise there. But yeah, no, they've been in the game for a while. I think Shift Up is a new studio, but they do have a couple of very niche JRPGs that I know Matt would probably appreciate. And
they got some pedigree. They got some talent in there. And like that's what I mean for like their first, like I'll call it AAA console exclusive. Like they came out swinging. Like
they didn't just come out swinging. They did a phenomenal job. Let's be honest here for how this game looks. If this is their very first,
well, let's take it away. Top level thoughts, Court.
I'll be honest right off the bat. Out of everybody here, I'm probably the least person that would be buying this game, playing this game. So my opinion is based off someone who doesn't play a lot of these games. He doesn't. Since he's known Matt for the last couple of years, he's played a ton of these games, which is just honestly straight up weird at this point. But I actually enjoyed my time with this game. Surprisingly, I play a lot of MLB The Show, and this still had me.
It's pronounced MOB.
MOB The Show 24.
I was surprised on how much I would look down and realize I just did 2 hours.
Yeah, you were looking down, all right. You were looking down, all right.
Wow. All right, so we're not going to get into that. I don't even want to talk
5 minutes
about
in. 5 minutes in, yeah.
Because totally honest, I actually moved on from that. Like I didn't have that as a focal point.
Something moved on. We know that.
Like, you know, going down ladders and such. But Bobby, at my age, barely anything moves. But
clarity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I'll have to say the fact that the character design and the combat systems, I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
Not so much the story, to be totally honest. For me, I found it intriguing. I thought the story was very intriguing. Very intriguing. Like, it was more of like me sending Matt messages and asking him like, oh, I think this is going to happen. And that I haven't done that in a game in a long time where I didn't know where it was going to go. So I'll kudos to them on that. I think they did. Shift Up did a phenomenal job on writing that. I just think the character designs, the combat systems, I love the fact that we didn't have the upgrade tree didn't really involve getting double jump and all that. That just, you eventually were just given that. I didn't have to like go out of my way to go get that and use points to go get it. I thought it was very, very well done. I can't believe I'm saying this. Like, I truly enjoyed my time with this game.
Great. I'm happy to hear that, actually. Bobby, how about yourself? Also, Court, sorry, before, just to roll it back a little bit, I just wanted to know, Court, how far are you? I want to
right now, I am, according to my play clock, I am 14 hours in and 67%.
2% shy.
2% shy.
You hate to see it.
You hate to see it.
Actually, I saw that and I thought it would be funny, especially the game we're talking about. But yes, we've had the game for just over a week and a bit now.
Yeah.
And for me to play it that much, considering the game I play on a daily basis, impressed. Like I said, that impresses me that I've put that much time in this game. And like today, I sat down and I was doing a part of this game where I was like, no, I need to finish this. Like, I was hitting mini boss after mini boss, and I'm like, no, I'm going to keep going because I want to know where this is going.
Sick. Love that. Back to you, Bobby. What do you think and how far are you? Yeah. Let me know.
So, like, I'm not going to be a definitive, recommendation so far, but I mean, I'm leaning towards that. I'm looking at my play clock right now, actually. It says about 12 hours. I did a couple hours today. I think I'm about halfway. I'm taking my time just because, like, I do like to explore. But I mean, from what I played, I mean, I do think this is a pretty solid game. There are some great mechanics. It definitely is that crossover between Nier and I feel more it's more of the Team Ninja style games than anything. I don't really see like I'm sure there's a FromSoft inspiration, but it shifts more towards the Team Souls genre is what I'm saying. But I mean, character designs are pretty cool. I mean, obviously there's a lot of, I don't want to say controversy, but there's a lot of weeboism going around right now about what the character looks like. I don't care about that. That really never affected my opinion of this game. I like everything else. Like, I do like the soundtrack's incredible. Everything I've heard so far, it really feels like something you would hear in Nier. If you guys have not played Nier, the soundtrack is probably one of like the best things about those games. So like that kind of elevates the game to a new level for me in that regard. Gameplay wise, it's great. I feel like it's a challenging game even on normal. I don't know if you guys are playing on easy or
I am playing it on easy.
I played it on easy.
For the sake of time, I played a majority on story.
And mode. I will say, even the boss, like I died on one of them. I was like, oh man, I wish there was even an easier level. But once you get the timings down, and I think a lot after playing Rise was the last game I just played to go into here, it kind of actually helped me to be okay at this game.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. I mean, I've just kind of I think the default difficulty is actually story in this game, so you actually start with story, but I just felt like I had to do it on normal just because I want to challenge myself. But I mean, that's kind of what's kept my playthrough, I guess I would say delayed, just because I am dying a lot, but I am learning the timings a lot. I'm trying to master the parry, the dodge. I'm trying to learn the combos, because like you do learn some really cool combos. Like you can kind of see what Shift Up wants to do with this game, and I feel like they're almost there, but there are some things where I feel like there could be improvement. I feel like the timing could be a little bit better on strikes. I'm seeing a lot of comparisons to like actually around line. Like people think it's like a Metal Gear Rising Revengeance game. I don't feel like it's that at all. That is a strictly action game where you are playing as Raiden and you're just a powerful ninja. Like in this game here, this is more near Team Souls crossover, where you actually have to learn to parry, you have to learn to dodge,
and use specific combos with specific enemies. So you can't just go at them and hack and slash any enemy. You've got to like actually use specific parry and specific specific move sets on each enemy.
Yeah, so like it's that stuff. It's getting that learning curve down because it is actually a really hard game in the beginning, and I feel like I'm struggling just because I struggled more because I didn't have proper exosuits. I didn't have any skills. So as I started getting that stuff, I feel like I could, improve what I was having, because you do get skills that improve your parrying time. You can improve your slowdown on dodging. You can add extra slices to your combo. You can do stronger heavy hits. You can do a bunch of stuff, and like it's all there. It's just you have to unlock it. But
yeah,
it doles out pretty fair. Like you are getting skill points pretty fairly as you're fighting bosses. And I do notice that when you die, like you actually still keep all your experience. Everything stays with you. You just restart.
Yeah, and at the camps you'll restart enemies and that's what gave me that Jedi Fallen Order vibe.
That's actually that's a Dark Souls thing. So like it actually began. I believe.
Never played one of them, so I wouldn't know.
So actually let's go back. It actually started in Demon Souls. It was just 2009. Yeah. So like that was kind of like the whole thing. Like you touch the fire, enemies will respawn. Like that's kind of the whole thing. That's where it came from. It's a FromSoft thing, but every game's doing it now because it's such a great mechanic. But yeah, you touch this. You camp at the whatever it is. It's like a vending machine, and you sit down, and enemies respawn. So like you can farm enemies if you want to practice, and you can get some skill points. But like, I mean, the best way to learn this game is just get your ass beat. And that's what I've been learning, is just learning the patterns, because like I feel like that's the only way to play these kind of games, is just take your beatings and then master it once you get the timing down. And it has been working for me. It's also, like I said, delayed me to get to the later chapters because like I want to get this game down, because I've seen some really cool combo videos online and I want to get there. I always try to at least master a couple of the stronger skills, just so I can make a couple cool clips for myself, and then play the next game.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, like I feel like this is a great first outing for Shift Up. Like I feel like I'm probably gonna clock in about 25-30 hours of this game, and then I don't know if I'll do the platinum. I don't really want to, just because like I've been burned by FF7 Rebirth Platinum, and like I'm still trying to get through that. So I'll probably play this. Yeah, like that's just like taking up all my free time. So between that and this, I mean, like, I'm having a great time overall. Like I really want to see this game succeed. I want to see Sony invest, into a sequel. I want to see what they do with this second game, because from the story, there are some issues. I feel like that's probably the weakest thing so far for myself, is the story is kind of lacking. The character interactions are kind of lacking. But with, a little bit more money, external writers coming in to kind of help Shift Up develop a better narrative, I feel like there's a really good game there. So, I mean, right now it's good, but it could be great.
Cool. Matt, how about yourself?
Yeah, I rolled credits on it this morning, clocked in at about 18, 19 hours, I want to say. I did a bunch of side stuff at the beginning and then kind of started mainlining it towards the back half of the game. So I kind of fell off of the side stuff there just because, again, in the interest of time. I loved it. I went into it not really that excited, to be honest. I played the demo and I thought, I was like, okay, this was good. And I honestly think that this game was not marketed properly, and I don't think the demo did enough, because it's literally right after the demo and the stuff that follows, when the game really opens up, the open zone starts coming in, the combat starts to improve. I think, Bobby, you're kind of spot on with I feel like the game starts, Eve is very much like, she is a kind of carte blanche character. There's not much to her personality wise, there's not much to her kit wise, there isn't really a lot going on. And as the story goes on and she starts to turn into her own character, as you're getting more moves, as the skill trees that you're missing unlock, the combat from where you start the game to where you end is significantly different. It's expanded. There is a lot of stuff that makes this game faster, that makes this game, even better than where you start. So I feel like the open zones are great, and actually kind of reminded me a bit of Rebirth's open zones, not obviously to that level of quality, but I got the same feeling. I do think there's some things that just by being their first time out, not everything completely comes together, but I genuinely think that this game gets better as it goes. And especially the back third of the game, I would say, is just nonstop hype. Like it's just one moment after moment. And like, I feel like it has some of the best set pieces since like Uncharted, where some of these moments are massive, they're huge, they're hype, they're anime, they're just a blast. And I feel like the combat really comes together. Like Bobby said, the soundtrack is phenomenal. The music in this game is so good. I actually really like the story, and I thought I knew where it was going over and over again. And while I don't think it's the most original thing in the world, I think it does it well. And I think, again, it takes time for it to start to come together, and it takes time for the whole picture to kind of show where, you know, show everything that was going on. And especially by the end of the game, you know, I'm itching for a sequel. I think that this could be a fantastic, like, Uncharted 1 to Uncharted 2 experience. I think this is a really strong coming out of the gate party. And I feel like if they can get more funding, if they can get more time, if they can get more people on this, I think a sequel could be phenomenal. Like, I really do think it could be talked about as like one of the greats, because I think this is a really good start. Everything about it just comes together really cohesively. A couple things aside that I very quickly forgot about. I loved the length. I think this was just long enough that, like, it didn't overstay its welcome. It doesn't overindulge you with too much side content. There isn't a ton of stuff all everywhere. It feels streamlined. It feels tight. It's just, I really liked it. I liked it a lot more than I was expecting to.
I find it funny that you mentioned Uncharted, Matt, because of that one scene, because that's all I was thinking about.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is like straight out of Uncharted, which once again, we mentioned this before we even started talking. I said to the guys, I was like, this is a very Sony game. And when you do those instances, that's where you feel like this is a Sony game. Like,
this is cinematic.
It's very cinematic. I think they did
story heavy.
Yeah, they did a very good job. The set and the backdrop and where you are is a character in itself, and it truly makes the game feel more alive and makes you, even though you're doing just almost pretty much a quick time event where you're just pressing buttons, you still feel like you're in it. And you still feel the suspense, and I think they did a great job with that.
Yeah. I really do think this is like taking and borrowing heavily from a whole multitude of games. You have Nier's aesthetic. You have, and I keep saying this, it feels like Zelda at points from its map design and how you go from here and then you go into a dungeon and then you're doing the next thing. There's some clever puzzles. There's like Uncharted's DNA when it comes to set pieces. This is really taking, you know, obviously both FromSoft's and Team Ninja's combat stylings, and then kind of growing on that a little bit and changing it as the game develops. It's literally taking all these different pieces and kind of putting them together in a package that feels like it shouldn't work, but it does.
Raise your hand if any of you did the number puzzle at the very beginning of the game. And
God, no, I'm not smart enough.
Yeah.
I took a picture, sent that to my wife, and asked her to text me back when she figured it out. She's much better at math than I am, and I just literally said, hey, can you tell me what the answer to this is? 5 minutes later, she hit me back. She's like, here you go. And I was like, there we go.
It's killing
me. Send it. What are you doing?
Yeah, you got to send to everybody.
Yeah. I am not smart crazy. That was my Steve and I's only text to each other of the, I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know what
as soon as I looked at that and I was like, okay, sending it to her. I'm not doing this. No way.
Yeah. Okay. So for my top level thoughts and everything, I also rolled credits just literally before we started recording this. Matt and I were talking and theorizing stuff and going over stuff that we just can't talk about in the spoiler free version of this discussion. But yeah, it was down to the wire. Did it. Clocked in at about 21 hours. Man, like you, I love the length of this game. I think, yeah, you could pad it out. Again, I played it on story, which was at times almost too easy. And I mean, like, majority of the time.
Welcome to my video game life.
But to me, we'll get into it and everything. But like, there were times where I was like, I feel like I just wanted more. But for the sake of time and efficiency, I was like, okay, we'll just get through it. I love the story. Coming into this game, I was like, okay, I don't know what to really expect out of this, especially coming out of the demo. I still didn't really understand what the much more broad strokes kind of story was going to be. And simply put, like, I think the best compliment I can give this game is that it brought me back to being in middle school on a Friday. Me and my dad would go to Blockbuster, pick up a game, and I'm just popping Mountain Dews all weekend long, like going through an entire video game and then returning it on a Monday. Like that's the kind of vibe I get. Like it very much feels like a contemporary version of an original Xbox game.
Because it's not long. You're right.
And it's not even just its length. I'm talking just in terms of its styling, in terms of pacing. It's just like a bombastic. Yeah, it has that vibe of an action adventure game from the early Xbox era or like PS2 era.
And like, I do want to say that I think that, you know, both Steve and I, let's call it an even 20-ish in terms of finishing the game. I think you could easily double that if you were going for 100%, because there's a number of side quests that I didn't do. And on top of like some of the other more optional pieces of it, I do think you could very easily hit 30 to 35 to 40 hours if you were out here trying to do everything.
Yeah, like about 6 hours ago when I talked to you guys, Matt was just like mainline. I was like, all right, I just stopped doing stuff in Xion, and I just was like, nope, because I was doing everything, because that's how I play games.
And, I did the exact same. By the time I got to the point of no return late into the game, I had, I think, about 3 side quests left to do. One being this weird puzzle.
Matt has the answer. We're good now.
I'm fascinated to know what the result was, and then a couple that I was just like, I don't really care to do it right now. I'm kind of just in it for the story at this point. But yeah, from the enemy designs to the world to the story, I do think that the story at large is way better than the moment-to-moment character interactions. I think largely there's one character being Adam is one of the worst written characters I've ever experienced in a video game.
Really? I disagree.
I cannot stand that character, cannot stand his voice acting. Everything about him just grates me to such a degree that when there are moments where he's taken away from the main component of the game, I was like, thank God I don't have to listen to this guy in my ear the entire time mansplain how I should play the game, because that's what he does during.
Well, I feel like he's like cutishly almost flirting with you throughout the whole game, which is hilarious. Because he's always like,
I never got that.
He annoyed me on that factor. I'm like, all right, dude, like, yeah, we get it. You really like Eve. Like, I get it. I get it. Let's just move on. Because he'll always say, and he also, for some reason, because I recorded it, he drops way too many lines from pulp culture. Like, I have a bad feeling about this. I've been recording it, so I catch them when they say it. And so there's been a lot of like, I'm not even going to call them Easter eggs. I really feel like they just put it in there because he says I have a bad feeling about this like 4 times, and I'm like, this is not a Star Wars game. Like, please stop saying it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I keep taking a clip of it. I just did not like that character whatsoever.
Aside from that, I thought Eve and Lily, the other secondary character that is in the game, phenomenal rapport between each other. I thought their chemistry was really well. Even like the bunch of side characters that you pick up quests from and kind of build a relationship with. Love them. Loved all the interactions within Xion. I think Shift Up did a really great job of dividing the game between linear levels and then parsing out more open world areas to explore and stuff like that. To me, it felt like a very good first venture for this studio to kind of come in with a little more ambition than, hey, we're going to do just a straightforward story, straightforward action game. Let's do a little more open world and a little more tailoring in that regard. So I thought it was great, and surprised me. And to your point, Matt, as soon as you hit that one area, essentially where we can't talk about anymore, is just some of the best video gaming I've been doing in the past year, where I was like, the music's hitting, the action's hitting, the character moments are hitting. And by the time you get to the very end, by the time you're rolling credits, I was like, give me another one. And I'm usually never like that. I'm usually like, okay, I'm good with this experience. Let's shelve that, come back to it in a couple of years. But immediately when this game ended, I was like, let's get a sequel going.
And like, I want to say too that the point of no return is truly a point of no return. I know a lot of games nowadays will hit you at the point of no return and then usually let you go back to do stuff after. There, without spoiling anything, you cannot go back. Like, if you are going to do anything, if there's anything that you haven't missed, and some stuff is important, you cannot do it once you hit past that point. And like, also, like, I just want to say that
trophy hunters like you, that would like maybe do some saves, like keep some save files.
There are no saves. There is no.
Oh yeah, you're right.
You can only upload to the
photo mode.
Yeah, which I did.
I understand why
I did
you
at the end.
Mode.
That's clever.
Because we can't talk about it in depth, but there are multiple endings depending on certain things. So if you are interested in a platinum, just upload your save to the cloud like I did, and then kind of
that's clever.
Back in pro strats, like, baby. That's what I'm here for.
That's old school there. But yeah, like, also no photo mode, by the way. Weird.
I'm sure there's one coming. I'm sure there's one coming. I'd be shocked if there wasn't. But yeah, and even just like the, with the multiple endings, some choices that really left me stumped. Like, I sat there for the first time in quite a while that I was just like, I don't know what to do here. Like, genuinely, like, it gets to that point where I really do feel like the opening hours lull you into this like, yeah, this game's okay, and then the more you play it, the more it'll sink its hooks into you.
Yeah. To your point, Matt, I think that first demo didn't do enough to kind of sell the game, sell you on what it was.
Well, no, because it
only gets better.
Section of the game, I feel, isn't the game.
No, right?
Like it's really not. Like you get the space, you get all that. Like that's not the game. Like I haven't in a long time got down conspiracy theory rabbit holes. Like I was texting Matt going, I think it's this, this, and this, and like he's coming back at me, and I haven't had a game in a long time make me think. Like a lot of TV shows and movies, I'm like, all right, I already figured out the ending. Like, all right, let's just move on. Let's just get to it. I am truly, truly stumped on how they're going to end this story. I'm very curious because
I think we have like a whole bunch of topics to discuss here and kind of break down a little more, but we also have some audience questions that we elicited. Matt, I know that you have some as well, so we can always pepper some in. But I want to start with
I've got one as well, just in case. So whenever
perfect, throw it in as well, Bobby. I want to start off with one from GTM618, otherwise known as Gamer Graham, friend of the show. He wants to know, I know the demo felt a little Souls-ish. How does the rest of the game feel? I feel like we kind of touched on this. Cord, you're on the side of like Jedi Fallen Order. Bobby, you're on like the Team Souls, kind of the Team Ninja, Ninja Gaiden. To me, I almost came in with almost a Devil May Cry-esque takeaway from this game, where the action felt so fast and frenetic with the combos. It felt like I was playing a more like arcadey action game. Are we all right? Are we wrong?
I think we are. I think we are all right, because I do think, depending on your difficulty level, like earlier today when we were messaging and Bobby's like, oh, I'm finding it difficult. And me, you, and Matt were just like, I don't know what you're talking about, but we were all playing on story mode. And for me, the sword combat, I'm doing more of that in the parry system. But like, I feel if you use the shotgun, all the weapons that you have, the range weapons, or Adam, it can change the way you play the game. I duly think, based on the amount of skills and the amount of combos you can do in this game, you can tackle the combat in different directions and have a totally different experience with this game.
That's the thing. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, no, I got a lot of Scarlet Nexus out of this as well. Like it's I don't think it's as light and as fast as a Devil May Cry, but I don't think it's as heavy and as slow as a Souls-like. I really do think that it may start out feeling heavy and slow, but like I said, I think that changes a lot depending on where you put your skill points, depending on what moves you're relying on. There's a couple that literally just feel like anime super moves as you start to make your way through out of it. So I feel like it really just depends. Like Court said, there's different ways to handle the combat. And even on story mode, I want to say I got my ass beat more than a couple times. That last boss had me pulling my hair out at points.
Oh, come on, man.
But it's like I feel like, depending on what you're looking for, depending on how much you're going to engage with the rage combat, how much you're going to do all of this, there's like a sliding scale of what this game could feel like. And I don't think there's one right answer.
Sure. Yeah. I also want to point out that I think this is the very first game of its ilk of this. A lot of people are going to compare it to a Soulsborne kind of game, where the story mode actively teaches you how to get better at it, so that in the end you could theoretically go to normal, where it does teach you, hey, these are the signs, the visual signs you want to look out for to parry, to dodge, to do the shift ability to kind of like phase through the enemy, pop out on the backside, and then kind of like strike them.
Blue, so that's blue, and then you've got yellow. And you're right, because if you're playing on story mode, and I don't, Bobby, are you getting this? It actually gives us prompts. Like it'll say,
it doesn't.
Yeah, so we get told to press L1 or press circle when we're doing boss fights.
I don't.
Not all the time though. It only does so if you fail enough times.
Yeah,
if the game realizes.
So for me, it happens a lot. Yeah, it happens a ton. Yeah.
If it's realizing so often. Yeah, if it's realizing that you're losing, then it'll start to help and like teach you, this is what you should do here. And like, what a fantastic way to help people learn, because I think that's great.
especially with the boss battles, because there are so many. A lot of this game does revolve around going after these larger than life, awesome set piece boss battles. Every single time you get to one, it does actively teach you like, okay, it's going to do this combo. So you're going to want to do left bumper, left bumper, left bumper, dodge, do that. And then afterwards, it's like, okay, hands are off. It's up to you now. And I think that's such a cool way to not only address kind of maybe some accessibility issues, but also welcome people into the fold where, yeah, you see, okay, a lot of people are going to compare this to a Soulsborne. You already have that banner right there. You already have that sticker on the game where people are going to be like, I don't want to play this game. This doesn't interest me, only because of the genre it's kind of being forced into. So here, I think that, yeah, there's a case to be made that it's accessible to jump into if this is your very first game of this kind. Although I do want to say, for someone who has played, you know, Demon Souls all the way to Elden Ring and stuff like that, I think this is as much of a dark or a Soulsborne game as an Eggo is a Belgian waffle. I just want to say, like, even though there is some DNA here, these games are. This is not a Dark Souls in this.
No, I'm playing the game. Like like this sounds. I'm not gonna like insult the game. My skills when it comes to games that are very hard, they don't exist anymore, and I'm able to play this game.
And I'm not even just talking like skill wise. I'm just talking about like the DNA. Like, sure, they have the campsite, which are, you know, the fireplace, the fires and stuff like that. But I just mean in terms of like the moment to moment larger view. Like, take a step back and look at the gameplay. This is so different from a traditional Souls game that it really shouldn't be compared. Other than the fact that you're doing some parries and stuff.
It reminds me a lot of Jedi.
I think that's closer. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I want to talk also about the story, because I think that was very surprising to me, only just from a top level perspective. I mean, we're talking about something like a post-apocalyptic setting. You're dropped in there in this like last vestige of humanity, trying to save this civilized, or this like little colony of humans called Xion, and you're picking up little side quests along the way, but you're actively trying to hunt down these bosses. I think that, Matt, you since you were the one to roll credits, like, what's your biggest takeaway in terms of the story and how it kind of unfolded over the course of 20 hours? Did you find the pacing to be there?
I do think so. Like I said, I think it starts slow with already, like, I think the game really started to grab me once you hit Xion and you go to the kind of the first open zone after that. I think that's when it really first started to grab me. It does a lot to, I feel like the environmental design, especially in Xion, is really, really cool. I think it does a lot to kind of start drawing you in, on top of the fact that you're picking up like notepads that have information on them. You're picking up like data stuff, and you're starting to see the seeds of it. It starts to show at hand quite early on. And I think that that was part of what enamored me with it, because you think you know where things are going. You think you have an idea, and you may be in the right ballpark, but not necessarily in the right spot. So I think the pacing got better. And like I said, I think especially in the back, I'll call it really the back half of the game, it's nonstop. Like, it truly is just one moment after the other, reveal after reveal, you know, just a lot going on, boss after boss. So I feel like it takes its time to set itself up, and then it really starts going. And I'm actually, if you don't mind, going to bring in a Reddit comment here, because I posted about this on Reddit and got over 200 comments and over 500 upvotes at this point. Incredible. So we got a whole bunch of questions, and a lot of them are based around, you know, how good is the story? What do we think? But there's also a number of questions about the side quests. And Steve, I'll throw it back to you. What do you think about the side quests? What do you think about, like, are they meaningful? Are they worth doing? Because in my opinion, I feel like there's kind of two camps. You have the good ones that are story-based, that you know, help you learn about the characters and around the world. And there's the quick gimmies that, you know, basically just reward you with materials or gold or whatever else. And I feel like there's space for both.
Right. No, and yes, I feel like, so essentially you have character moments, character side quests and stuff like that, and then you have the bulletin board where you can pick up random side quests. And I think that's more in the camp of what you're talking about, where it's like, oh, it's these quick fetch quests just to kind of pad out the game's runtime, to kind of get you familiar with exploration, but also rewarding you with some stuff that can go a long way in terms of unlocking cosmetics or new upgrades and stuff like that. For me, I tried to do them all. I tried to do them as they were becoming available, but I will say that there were specific character side quests that I fell in love with, specifically with the there in Xion, there's kind of a jazz bar, a rundown jazz bar.
Yes,
and
same.
In it, there's a singer there. I'm not going to give away too much, but her side quest, fulfilling it all the way to the end, I was like, this is so beautiful. Because it goes into something that's way more overarching in this game, and it's the use of music and how much music is a focal point here. That side quest, by the time we ended it, I was like, oh, if only all the side quests of all the character moments were like as powerful as this one, this would have been really something special. Because it's a multi-tiered kind of process, but once you get all the way to the end and you see it all the way through, I was like, damn.
So you're telling me I need to go finish that one?
Oh,
that one,
if there is one,
like I've moved on. Like Matt was like mainline, so I've mainlined after the very. There's about to like give away way too much.
No, there's a lot of really good stuff in here, and I feel like some of it is also just not obviously immediate. Like you have to go looking for some of this stuff. You have to engage with these characters to get to some of this content. It's not, some of it will just be, here's an exclamation point on your map. Some of it is you gotta go looking for it, otherwise you're not gonna find it, and some of it is important.
No, I do like the side quest. Bobby, pulling you in here, I know you're still kind of early on. Have you started engaging in any of the side content? Has any of it grabbed you?
I've done a couple things, but nothing where I'm kind of invested yet. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of filler. I mean, if you guys feel like that, but
a little bit.
It doesn't feel like it serves a purpose to the main story. And I was spoiled, and I hate to keep pulling in FF7 Rebirth, but a lot of those side quests in that game were supplemental to the main story. And like, I want games where it's not just, hey, here's a side quest for you. Like, hey, here's a side quest. Here's how it plays into the bigger story. And I'm not getting that so far.
That's totally fair, by the way.
Yeah. And like no hate towards Shift Up. I feel like side quests have changed in the last like 5 or 6 years. I mean, look at God of War, for example. Look, that game side quests were probably as good as, if not better than, some of the main story chapters. And stuff like that is what I want. I want games where you're getting like a better picture of this world through the gameplay and the side quests. And like, these are okay. Like the side quests are okay. I feel like they could have done better. But I mean, I feel like it's just a means to an end. You just, you're completing the mission, you're getting whatever your reward is, and then you're just kind of moving on. And I'm kind of over that, I guess, that loop. So I mean, ultimately, I will do a couple of them. If I find them interesting, I'll obviously complete them. But like, I feel like I expected more. I mean, it was kind of hyped up to be a little bit more, I feel. But I mean, to each their own. I'm sure you guys have just separate opinions. Like, I would like to hear what everyone else thinks, but I don't know. For all I know, they will improve in the future. But the ones that I've done so far, they're okay, but there weren't anything just to say like, hey, I remember that side quest I did.
That's fair.
And that's where I'm at with it. But like, I mean, yeah,
I feel like you start to see pieces of that in some of the side quests, like the ones that, like, again, the actual side quests.
The job board.
The completion board is just is fodder. I feel like the actual side quest, you start to see hints of that, and that's why I think if they do get an opportunity to do a sequel, I feel like they could go even further in that direction, because there's moments of brilliance in that, but it is not the core conceit of it all.
Well, it's almost like they had
sorry, go ahead,
aspirations for all of them. Like some of them that you do, I'm like, oh, that's it. Like I wasn't thinking about it as much until Bobby said it, and I'm like, yes, the one in the nightclub, I'm gonna go back because I already did partial of all that. So yes, I will go finish that. But some of them, I'm like, okay, that's it. Like it felt like it didn't do anything besides give me coins.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on that. I think they're broken up into like 3 different categories. There's the bulletin boards. There's like the with characters, and then the ones that were that I think me and Matt are kind of talking about are like the heavy story, heavy ones, which in the trophy list all have a trophy. So those are kind of the ones that you can kind of assume, hey, you're going to get a little more to chew on in terms of just its value, versus the one, there's another one where it's like a book collector and he's like, oh, go back to an area that you already were and grab this book for me. And you kind of get a little more lore out of it or something like. And it's like, okay, maybe it's something to do, but I'm not going to remember that one versus the one we're talking about in the Jazz. Well, that's another thing. Yeah, there's pop cans to collect,
and the prize at the end of the pop cans.
We'll get into that. But I think there's an appropriate level of side content, collectibles. I don't think that it's like a Ubisoft-esque hunt-a-thon. I think 49 pop cans are totally appropriate. Yeah, I don't know about you, Matt. How many did you end up with by the end of the game?
I think I had like 12. I wasn't like actively like looking too hard. I was just kind of, if I saw something, then I would go and take my, go take a look.
Did you guys find the Canadian one?
I don't think so.
Then okay. There's a good one. I took a picture and clipped the video for later. Cool. They can't put it out till after launch.
Yeah, I got to 22 out of the 49. So in the game, you can always hit the middle, the menu bar on the DualSense to kind of do like the radar with the Atom bot, and it always highlights all the collectibles or all the materials that you can get. I was spamming that thing the entire time.
Radar is I upgraded that thing right away. Like that's fully upgraded. It's worth it.
Yeah. So every time I saw the little pop can icon, I was like, okay, I got to go over there. Got to solve the puzzle to get into
go see how many
area.
Pop cans I have right now. Let's be honest here.
Yeah. Yeah, so I want to kind of tie this into like the skills, because there are, Matt, you kind of talked about it earlier. There's different skill trees and stuff that you can progressively unlock. I know probably for Bobby, maybe even for Court, early on, probably within the first 6-7 hours, you're collecting so many different objects and different materials that it's just nonsense. You're collecting colorful orbs. They don't really mean anything, especially to me, even someone that's
felt very Destiny at first.
A little bit, yeah. You're collecting the engrams, sure. But yeah, after time, you kind of learn what is needed to upgrade what, whether you're upgrading your sword, whether you're upgrading your gear slots and stuff like that. So I wanted to pull in a question from @NewDadGaming. He said, do you need to farm skill points at all? The demo seems tough, but fair with what it gave you. Bobby, so far, how do you feel the delivery of skill points, the delivery of XP, and how you're upgrading things? How do you think that's been for you?
I mean, it pretty standard, I feel like. I don't know if you guys notice anything later on, but like it's just pretty run of the mill. Like you fight enemies, you get X amount. There are obviously certain areas where you can probably farm. That's what I've been doing. And it does help in the beginning because like you can die and you don't lose anything. You just kind of lose your progress. You go back and then you can basically just earlier stages. I was able to unlock like better windows for timing, for parrying and dodging, and that helps in the earlier stages because you have even a fraction of a second longer to parry, and parrying is the way you unlock your beta skills and the way you can unlock faster, I would say. But yeah, no, I mean the system it works. I feel like they did a good job with that. I don't have any complaints with it. I feel like it's a pretty solid way to learn the systems, get stronger earlier, faster, and just playing through it and not being afraid to lose some progress because like you really don't lose much.
Yeah.
16 cans. I have 16
cans.
Nice.
Okay.
Wow. I think I have like 3 or 4. I think that's it.
I'm like Steve though. Whenever I enter a room, I spam. And I'm just like, all right, I know everything is like, I will even say this. Adam, the character,
why don't you guys turn on auto pickup?
I know auto pickup is on.
Oh,
auto pickup's on. Yeah, absolutely.
That's a pro move.
I spam to see where. Yeah, that was one of the first things I text Matt. I'm like, just turn auto pickup on.
Yep.
But even your character Adam will actually tell you if there's stuff in a room. That little drone that's going around with you will actually say, "Are you sure you want to go into the next room?" It's done it to me a couple times.
Yeah. See, my whole point is I don't listen to Adam. Anytime that guy's mouth opens up, I'm like, whatever, bud. Just
you're not an Adam fan.
Just shut up. Yeah. I'm just not about him. But Core, what about you? How did you feel like the skill allocation is in this game?
I thought it was almost perfect. There's a lot of games. I'm a huge Ubisoft player, and I feel in the last couple of years they have just given me way too many skills to even deal with, and it's just like what's the point of all this? Like, you're not going to be using all that. I think they've done a good job, especially with the different stuff that you unlock as you beat bosses going on. I feel that by the time I get to that boss, I pretty much can level up. I'm only leveling up that skill because they allocate points very well, and I'm able to pretty much fully level my character up as I progress in the story, and I don't feel like I'm like underpowered or I'm missing out on things. I think they've done a good job of not giving you too much and pretty much giving me just enough.
Yeah, I have to agree because I think it's tuned pretty cleanly. I did like no grinding. I would fight everything I would come across, but I wasn't ever dedicating, here's a half an hour where I'm going to run around this area and solely fight monsters. And I found that there's probably a handful of skills that I didn't get by the end of the game. I feel like everything that I wanted, I got. Everything that I was using a lot, I was able to upgrade the way that I wanted to. And that's kind of where, if you wanted to 100% everything, I think there would be some grinding needed. But for the skills and stuff that I was using, I felt that this was pretty finely tuned. I did not feel like, none of the fights I lost did I feel like I was overpowered. I just felt like I needed to learn the fight a little bit better to get to the end of it. I thought it was pretty clean.
Yeah, I'm totally in agreement. I think by virtue of just the way that you're able to unlock the different skills when you want, there's also the ability to go into the camp, purchase an item that resets all your skills. So in case you wanted to have a different build, you can. But like you, Matt,
also pick that up in the world. That item,
sure,
I just pick it up in the world.
Yeah, I never had to use it only because, again, I felt like I was progressing in a natural way, that every time that I had a skill that I wanted, I had the points there. To a certain degree, like at points in the game, I had so many points accumulating that I got back to the camp. I was like, oh, I have 12 at this point. Let me go shopping.
Same.
I just used 9. I literally, when I went to go see the cans. But I will say that's what I do like about this game, because I didn't feel I need to use them.
Right.
It's not one of those games where if you're not leveling your character up, you're getting dummied out there. It's and they're not holding your hand either. Like I said, for someone like myself, I think that's what's making me enjoy my time with this game, because I'm not being punished for playing it on story mode at the same time. I'm still able to enjoy the story, but also enjoy making my character stronger.
Yeah.
I also think, similarly to the skill points, I also find the item economy to be pretty well-rounded. I had at one point more gold than I knew what to do with. And especially like the outfits that you unlock are purely cosmetic, yes, but you needed like a bunch of different materials to do so. You can collect those very easily in the world, but also I got to a point where I had so much money, you can buy them as well. So I just went and bought a bunch so I could unlock all of the ones that I wanted to without even thinking about it, because I had so much gold. The items stock up really nicely. The only item that I'll say to keep an eye on is the WB pump, because it's an item that will revive you if you go down.
Yes, Bob.
Those ones will run out between deaths. So if you have 5 and you die and you respawn, even if you die and revive entirely, those will still deplete. So those are the only ones to keep an eye on. Everything else like feels good. But I have to say that, like, again, I'm glad that I was like, okay, I want to wear this outfit. It looks awesome. I'm short this one of the material. Let me go see if I can buy it. And I literally went and bought 99 because I could.
Right.
And so like
same thing.
I feel like that, like, again, even just the item economy, I think you get more gold than you know what to do with, at least on story mode. But I always felt like I was properly equipped with, and, able to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is that, there's a whole bunch of notes and like hologram text and stuff like that that you can pick up. All of those also add experience points. So I felt like, like while I was, doing combat and stuff like that, for me, someone who was going into every area, picking up all the items, I was like, oh, okay, now I feel like I'm actually progressing my character, not just pulling up notes just for the lore or just to read through. So I thought that was nice.
Something that I wanted to bring up, because this was kind of like a recurring thing on Reddit, and not something that I noticed, but I'm curious to see if the rest of the panel did. Did you notice an input delay? Because there's a number of questions that I got asking if they had fixed or if they had rectified the input delay. Apparently there was one in the demo. I only played on performance. I didn't leave performance, and I never had any technical issues. I didn't ever feel like there was a delay. But again, I don't play a ton of the Soulsborne stuff, so I'm not sure if maybe I just didn't notice. But personally, I felt nothing. I felt no issues whatsoever.
No, performance was great. I played on performance mode as well.
Yeah.
I think everyone did.
Yeah.
So
is that the balanced one? Because there's 3 modes. There's performance,
balance, and quality, probably.
Yeah,
quality, balance. I think performance is 1440p or something like that.
Yeah,
and like 60 frames. That's what I play. I think that's what I played on.
Yeah,
but no issues with me. I mean, to be fair, like my TV is pretty powerful, so I mean,
same.
OLED fam.
Yeah,
C2.
So exactly. So like that TV has like very low latency. That does help in games like this, and I feel like So like I mean, if you don't have a TV like that, you might notice something. But if we're all in the same boat, it's probably just because the TV is making up for any issues like that. So I mean,
yeah, I've noticed no issues. I've had, like I said, no issues with the combat, no input delay, no nothing.
Yeah, I feel like if any of us were to notice a delay, it would probably be Court, because he would. Because I just feel like if there was any kind of delay or hindrance to being able to achieve like the boss battles and stuff, you would probably be the one to.
Yeah, like I actually noticed it in Jedi. Before the patch, when Jedi first came out, I remember complaining about it a lot on the podcast with Matt. I was like, I'm like, I shouldn't be getting hit here. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I've had zero issue. I've actually gotten better at this game as we've gone along. Like the last Naytiba fight, I only had to use my health once. I was like, oh my God. Like I was pretty, I find the dodge to be, for the people listening, and you haven't played the game yet, the dodge button is your friend. It's the greatest button. Just spam circle. When in doubt, just spam dodge, because it helps out so much in these battles.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah. Matt, I want to go back to you because I want to talk about exploration a little bit. You brought up Zelda with the world puzzles. I thought that was an awesome pull, because I didn't really put that together. And there are so many puzzles like scattered throughout the world. None of them, like not a lot of them that are mandatory, but some that you can just do to unlock, tangential rewards and stuff like that. Did you find a lot of the puzzles to be rewarding? Did they make you think at all?
I think a lot of them were actually pretty fun. And I'm not a puzzle person. I'm the first person to get frustrated if I meet a wall that I don't know how to get around. But I feel like a lot of it, like when I say Zelda, like I feel like the combat at points feels a little Zelda-like. I feel like, especially when you have your ranged weapons, it feels a little Zelda-like when you're, again, the kind of flow of here's your hub, here's the kind of an open zone that you have to go through, and here's a dungeon at the end. It all kind of flows in that same way. And a lot of again, once you're in the dungeons, there are a couple puzzles that were just a blast. And one of them specifically that, again, will have you looking at your face on the face buttons of your controller just to make sure you're jumping in the right order. It's just there's just some really cute stuff that they do that feels organic, that feels like it's supposed to be there. I was not frustrated at any point when it came to the puzzles. It was more like, how do I do this? Or my favorite kind of puzzles, platforming puzzles, which again, I feel like the platforming can be a little hit or miss until you get to certain parts of the game that help that along, and you get certain upgrades. But I feel like when they do work well, and when they are like, oh, holy crap, like that was awesome. There are moments like that where that just really comes together. So I feel like, again, it's tough to talk about, because I feel like a lot of the best part of this is just as you keep going. I feel like the game doesn't show it, like story-wise, you'll see pieces, but it takes time for it to kind of build. And it's like, as Eve becomes a better warrior, so do you. Like it works.
I'm curious. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. No, I was curious that, because we played it on story. Bobby, when you're doing the puzzles, are you allowed to get hints?
Yeah, hints are always hints.
Okay, well, I just wanted. I was very curious.
You can change that in the settings. I mean, you can do stronger hit, or like I guess longer hints, or shorter hints, or no hints.
Yeah, because I thought, I was wondering if that was only for story mode. How, like, when we unlock because you can unlock, for the people listening, you can unlock the answers to the puzzles by collecting and pushing dead bodies. Let's be honest. You touch them, and then they fall over after, and you get something from them. But you can unlock. I did find the variety of them pretty cool, like the ups and the different going back and forth. It felt very old school video games. Yeah, it felt like I was putting in cheat codes.
We talked about it in our preview with Bobby and I, and yeah, I just love the input ones where you have to like race against the clock to hit like on the D-pad, or the one where it would scroll through the different tiles and you had to hit it at the very.
That was actually my favorite. It was
that
like
one's fun. I also like just finding the passwords and having to put in these kind of like weird texts into the computer. All of them are genuinely a lot of fun and kind of just elicit some sort of exploration. It's a nice little mini game.
I also felt that like the variety of them worked well enough. Even one that you come across that you think you're going to know how to do, it'll twist it just a little bit, or like it'll change it up just a little bit. Some of them you'll do once and never do again. Sure. And I feel like there's just they do a good job at kind of keeping you entertained and engaged by not always giving you exactly what you expect.
Yeah, I did want to go back to the platforming bit because I think I want to go back to Bobby because early on I was tearing my hair out with some of the platforming sections because Eve is so floaty when she's trying to like traverse and stuff like that. She's great in combat because that works to her advantage. But when you're trying to like position yourself on the small droid and everything, I kept falling off. Yeah, that first tower that you get to,
my god,
I was like, come on, this is just not fun. But as soon as you open up the double jump, I was like, oh, now we're cooking. Now I feel like this is way better.
The dash is the best.
Dash is good too, but it didn't really help as far as like those early hours. I'm wondering, Bobby, like, are you feeling that same kind of those same pains?
So yeah, I feel like she's really stiff in the earlier hours, and as I guess she progressed, like I feel like she does open up, but like I don't know if it's like an intentional design from Shift Up, but like for whatever she is, she's not as agile as like say like 2B, and that's what I kind of thought they were kind of aiming for, is just that fluidity with how 2B moves in Nier, and if you guys have played Nier Automata, like 2B is very agile. She can basically work her way through any platform, combat scenario, anything. And then you come into this game, and it's not the same. Like I hated jumping through even in the early stage where you're jumping from, I guess, like the railings to the railing to the other railing to the other side. Like I didn't like that. It felt floaty. It was very stiff, and then the way she moves, I just don't like it. It feels like there's a disconnect between the combat and the platform. Like they're two different games.
But I almost think they put that into it because if you fall, you don't die, right? They just put you back.
Damage.
You take damage, yeah.
Yes, but you don't die unless you do it a bunch of times. But at least they're doing that for you, because there was a part where I couldn't figure out what happened, so I just kept jumping down. I thought I needed to go into the water down there, and then like it wasn't. And it's like there's a button I needed to press, and I just didn't see it, right? And
but then there are also points where you'll drop down and have to restart the entire puzzle or the area.
Exactly.
So there's not. It's not like it's a fail safe that if you just drop, you'll end up like respawning right before it. Like I've had to redo specific puzzles over and over again because of the platforming hitches, if you will.
I feel like she's simultaneously, especially at first, both very floaty and very heavy. And like it's like you look like you're going higher and farther than you actually are, and it just doesn't really coalesce until you get the double jump, until you get better with using the dash, and all of that starts to come together. But at first, it doesn't feel great until it does.
Yeah, I also feel like it's just because this isn't a platforming game, and maybe they'll commit some more time and efficiency to maybe invest in that, because I think that a sequel could really invest in a longer dash or a double dash, and like then you'll start to like actually have some verticality to the game as well, instead of just always kind of being on the ground, especially during combat, because her verticality doesn't really translate into the combat. Like sure, you can jump and do like a down triangle move on some enemies, but I feel like the game kind of opens itself up to being able to jump up, hit a bunch of enemies like in the air. I feel like that could kind of be like the next evolution to the combat. But yeah, I guess as we start to wrap up, I do want to talk about the controversy around this game and the focal point around this game, because I think we all have something to say about it and everything. I did see a very great article from Inverse the other day talking about Stellar Blade, the male gaze, and whether or not they justify itself in using like sex appeal as like a marketing strategy for this game. I encourage everyone to kind of read that article. I thought it was very great. But I just want to know, chomping around the board and everything, do you feel like this game essentially is just a platform for men to, like, hetero men to kind of gawk at a woman, or do you think that there's way more to this game than just the eye candy of a traditional model, if you will? Court, you're making a face. I'd like to.
Well, I didn't think it was that big of a deal until, and I mentioned this to you guys, I was playing it and my wife walked in the room.
Okay.
And she literally turned to me and goes, "What are you playing?" And I explained what I was playing, and I was like going through, and she goes, "Why is she like that?" And I'm like, "Well, that's that's the choice they made to design the character." And she's like, "Why does she have to move like that?" And then I was going down ladders. She stood here for a bit, and she's like, "They're like fixating on it." I'm like, "Yeah, the camera kind of zooms a bit." I think that in the world and society we live in, sex sells. Let's be honest. And everybody does it in advertising. It's everywhere. It's not like you can ever get away with it. I think they're definitely using it to their advantage. I look at the pop cans, for example. The prize you get for it is it's lingerie. Like, that's what it is.
Can we tie
lingerie?
Can I jump in quickly? So just to tie in, actually, this is the perfect time to jump into my question, because you're saying she gets lingerie if she collects all these questions or all these
pop cans.
Pop cans. Perfect question I have right now is from one of our audiences. What's the outfit situation like? How do you unlock different costumes for you? Are they tied to the story, and are they tough to get?
They're not tough to get at all. You can get them from that. There's that job board you can get, and then there's the shop that Roxanne, who does flirt with you a ton.
Oh, heavy
flirt,
heavily.
And you can buy them all from her. I think I have almost all of them. I have chosen, like I've crafted most of them. You do have to craft them after you buy them. You do have to craft them. You also can find them in the world. There's these little canisters that are pretty cool. I actually like the opening of the canisters. I find them very cool and futuristic. I also think when they're putting in the fusion core, it looks like you're starting up the DeLorean when they're putting in the plutonium. But anyways, that's just a thing. But I didn't find it. I didn't notice it at first. And then maybe this is just, we played so many video games. Like for me, I looked for it because everybody was talking about it. And like, as she goes down ladders, your character, I was like, in my brain, I'm just like, all right, it's, it's very fixated on the rear end there. But at the same time, when I'm in combat, I just don't notice it. But I had to give an outside perspective. And my wife was the one right away, was just like, don't play this in front of our daughter. That was her only thing to me. Like, I've played other video games. She's like, I just don't want her to see it. And I was like, okay. And I asked her why. And she was just like, well, she said it's very over sexualizing for no reason. That's my wife's comment. For me, I'm just used to playing a lot of video games, and I feel we get this in a lot of video games. Like, Jesus, we definitely do. So for me, maybe I'm desensitized to it, but my wife's exact words were, I feel this is too overly sexualized for no reason. So that's her opinion, though.
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of mixed on this, because like Court mentioned, I kind of quickly forgot about it. It's very much in your face at first, and then you obviously just kind of roll on. And especially because the narrative doesn't really ever do anything with it. Like, there's no real reason for it. They try and justify it in certain ways that, like, again, it is what it is. I don't really have an express issue with it. Some, like, on the opposite side of the spectrum, like, my wife saw some of the outfits and she's like, oh, that one's cute, that one's cool, and like that was kind of the end of the conversation.
Your wife's awesome.
So I don't know. I'm not sure where I fall in it, because it is, I think, a complicated situation, and it does feel especially almost like a remnant of games past, where like there are some of these outfits, and especially talking about the ladders, some of them you can see quite a bit when you're going up the ladders, whether you want to or not, that it kind of just like it takes you back out of the experience at points. So I don't know. I'm kind of mixed. I quickly forgot about it, but I can understand why people may be uncomfortable with it, or may play this game for the wrong reasons, let's say. But I have to bounce, guys. I've got to go help with the baby. So I'm gonna dip out now. But everybody, kind of my quick closing thoughts, Steve, if you don't mind.
Please, no. Please.
Loved the game. It really did surprise me in a lot of ways, and in ways I wasn't expecting. I think the story's great. I think the combat's great. I think there's a lot here that shifts up, really, cements it itself as, okay, we're here. This fits in with the rest of the Sony catalog, and I hope they get a sequel, because I think this game was fantastic.
Great. Well, thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. We'll be wrapping up ourselves very shortly. I just want to finish our thoughts here, and then but appreciate you joining.
Peace.
Talk to you soon. Bobby, would love to hear your thoughts on this. I know you're still very
Sure.
early on, and your experience or exposure to it all is light.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever played Bayonetta, I mean, you kind of know what Stellar Blade is kind of doing. I mean, that is a very sexualized game. I don't really care for it. I honestly, it's there. It's in your face for a couple minutes, and then it's the last thing I'm thinking about. I think a lot of weirdos on the internet are making a big fuss about it because they have nothing better in their lives than a bunch of polygonal women, and I think the average man probably doesn't care, and I feel like it's not something a talking point. And to balance that out, I mean, the Japanese culture, Korean culture, it's a little bit more openly
Sexualized.
Not sexualized. They're more I don't want to say perverted, but they know how to idolize women in a sexual way, and
It's a cultural thing.
It's a cultural thing, but
Yeah.
they try to not make it a creepy thing. It's
Right.
just they idealize a woman's figure, and like that's totally fine. Like a man is a man. Like that's clearly like part of our DNA. But I mean, like I said, there are weirdos on the internet who are making it their life's goal to spout like this is fine, like it's all fine and dandy. Like, I mean, we want beautiful women, but like, I mean, they're also the same guys who've never been with a real woman. So like, it's a balance of
Crazy.
You know, it's crazy. And
well, it's like you look at it. They were mad at Aloy because she had hair in her face, but they're mad when the character looks too much.
Anyone who's been with a woman knows they have hair in their face. Like really,
they try and pick and choose. If it's a female character, the game is woke. If it's too many male characters, it's like you can't really win. There's always going to be controversy. But I think
you can win by ignoring them, and that's what I've been doing because they're not. I don't consider.
I don't care. I
don't consider them
internet now.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. But at the same time, like gaming media, games journalists are being attacked by now by some of the stupidest people on the planet who do need a physical slap to the face. And I would gladly give it to them I would gladly slap these people in the face because they are pawn scum and they don't deserve the time of day. But what I'm getting at is, yeah, as an average man who is comfortable with himself and my life, Eve's body and what she represents means nothing to me. She is just a character in a game to me. She serves on purpose, and that's getting me from the start of the game to the end of the game. And really, I see nothing about her body that I find appealing. It's clearly sculpted to shift up's idea of a perfect woman, and like whatever, that's fine. But overall, I don't care for it. I think it's just it's a way to bring in the weird people.
Sure,
yeah, it's totally fine. If it was a game like Bayonetta does things a little bit differently. Cereza's very sexual. She's a witch. I mean, it kind of plays into the story, and like I do like what Platinum Games did with her character. I mean, that's kind of where I feel like I kind of sit with. If it was more like Bayonetta, I would probably appreciate it more. Here, it's just more for shock value, and she's supposed to be this beautiful woman whose body was scanned by an actual Korean model, and like that stuff is just stupid. Like, who cares? Like, it makes no sense to me. It really makes no sense, and I feel like it serves no purpose to the story. I mean, they can try as hard as they want. It really serves no narrative purpose other than she looks nice when she's.
I think that's my biggest takeaway as well, is that at the end of the day, all that stuff just feels like a major distraction for this game. And I feel like
it's making up for something it doesn't have, and that's sometimes I feel like it's a narrative thing.
And yeah, exactly. Court, you got to bounce as well.
I do. I've got to put the kid to bed.
Sounds good.
It's my turn.
All right, we'll wrap up right after. Give a shout out to where people can find you online.
You can find me at Console Creatures every Monday at 1 p.m. doing the PlayStation Generation, and you can find me on all social media platforms at Courtlawn. Very, very easy, very simple. And my final thoughts of the game is, for someone that is not into these games like you guys are, like I'm definitely the sports games and you guys are, and I'm more the the Ubisoft open world. I truly enjoying my time with this game. Like once I'm done here, I think, as I said to you guys before, I know I'm very close to the end. I'm pretty much at the point of no return. I just have to do one more thing. So for me, I'm gonna have this finished probably by the end of the day tomorrow.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love hearing that. We won't take up any more of your time. Appreciate you joining us for this conversation. We'll see you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Yeah, just kind of going back to what I was saying before, I feel like there is such a distraction for the outfits and stuff like that. Like even going back to the amount, like the ultimate goal of grabbing all the cans, the collectibles in this game is just like a lace outfit. I was like, but why does it have to be? Like, if this game was maybe 30% less horny, I feel like more emphasis and more time could be spent just talking about how good the gameplay is, how good the story is, how good the game's performance and world building is. But instead, yeah, it's just unfortunate that because there's such a focal point within the studio to kind of spotlight what they think is, you know, the perfect form of a woman's body, and then you know you have the certain sector of players also evangelizing that same thing. It feels like we're detracting from what should be a special game here. I think there's a lot more. So at the end of the day, I think this game, Stellar Blade, is more than just overt sexualization, salacious outfits and stuff like that. I think that there's just a legitimately great game here. I hope that once it comes out, we can talk about that more than the fact that you can have her in a bikini if you really want to. I think it's better that there's a teddy bear outfit for her. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, like I want stuff like that. Like I don't care for the lace lingerie. Like that
it does nothing. Yeah,
I feel like it's just for the wrong people. It's the right thing, and I feel like that's pretty sad.
Yeah,
I mean, there are obviously people there who like that stuff, and they don't feel like it. They acknowledge it, and they interact with it in a positive way. There are other goons and goblins out there who solely focus on how big her boobs are or how much her butt's jiggling, and like that's just the saddest stuff in the world. And like I feel like to attack anybody about that, like you need to check yourself because there's something wrong with you. And you know, like it's a video game. Like legitimately, you're taking this woman who's made of polygons and you're idolizing her, which is fine, but like not to the degree that I'm seeing online. Like it's just a character. Like let it go. Like I don't know. I'm so like out of touch with some of the weirdest people on the planet, I guess. I mean,
but I think that's okay. You know, I think we're better off.
Well, like they're the loudest minority right now, and it's just like
that's
the problem. Like they have a platform when I feel like some people don't need one. Yeah, like go back to your goblin hole, stick your head back into your rocks, and just let normal people be normal. Instead of interjecting with, well, actually, her boobs should be this big, because you know nothing about what a woman actually represents and what she goes through. So stop talking.
It's good sentiment. Bobby, as we wrap up the episode, final thoughts, anything that we didn't talk about that is on your mind?
Overall, I think we nailed some good stuff. I mean, I feel like once you're back and you want to do a spoiler cast, I'm down. I want to keep pushing through. I feel like I probably will be done by Sunday, so in a couple of days. But like overall, I'm really enjoying what I am playing. There are some improvements I feel like can be there, and we'll have our review out pretty much day and date of embargo. So Luke's covering that, and
very cool.
Yeah, we'll go from there. I mean, I feel like this is a great first outing for Shift Up. I just feel like it's mired in some of the stupidest controversy pre-launch, and like I hope that people look past that and see that it's actually a good game. And you know, she's not Aloy, she's even, like she's a certain character, so like inject her some personality, give her something more to do than just looking good.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think this is a great game, a great boon for PlayStation. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed the length of it. I enjoyed the bombastic nature of it. The story blew me away and took me in different directions than I thought it was going to. I think it's all coupled by really great gameplay. The combat's a lot of fun. Upgrading Eve and making her more powerful. There are so many set pieces there where she's pulling off moves and cinematic, just the way that she's like animated. I was like, holy hell, she is a badass. And I think that's the main takeaway, is that Eve is a fucking badass.
She is.
I want to see more of her. I think she's an awesome character. But yeah, on top of it all, I love the use of music in this game. It's so good. I also heard that a lot of the soundtrack was also made by, I think it's Okabe, the same musical director from Nier. He helped Guy.
Yeah, Keiichi Okabe. But I've heard some things where it actually isn't him.
Really? Because I was reading a Push Square interview, and I thought the gameplay director.
Well, I think he might have maybe
he
composed some songs, but I don't think he's like the full composer.
No. So there was I think 100 tracks, and 60 of which were made in-house by Shift Up, and then 40 were made by the sound engineering studio, overseen by Okabe.
Okay, so then that's something new to me. I didn't even know that. So that's pretty cool. So I can even now more appreciate the soundtrack, because like if it is the songs I've heard so far, like then it's definitely him. And yeah, now this is a perfect reason for anyone who hasn't listened to Nier to go back and listen to Nier Replicant's soundtrack.
Honestly, playing Stellar Blade has made me want to go and play Nier now. Like,
I mean, you have to at this point. I mean, they're two of the most original games that Square Enix has put out in the last like 15 to 20 years, and they are very deep philosophical games that have some really good themes to them. So like, really, I mean, you can't go wrong if you play them. They're both good. They're both good. They're great games.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to eventually finding time for that. But Bobby, this was a great conversation. Thank you for hanging out, talking about the game. Core and Matt, also for stopping by, talking about the game. If people wanted to connect with you online, where can they do so?
You can find me, B. Preciolitis, on all social media platforms. You can also look up my LinkedIn with all our links to every social platform for Console Creatures. Yeah, we're there.
Dope. And as for me, you can find me across the internet at svigvari. Yeah, thank you all for tuning into this review of Stellar Blade. Thanks for PlayStation for providing a code. Yeah, I'm looking forward to having more thoughts on this as players get their hands on it, kind of start dabbling into the game themselves, because there's a lot to talk about in this game that unfortunately we just weren't able to, just to keep it kind of spoiler free. But yeah, we'll be back again next week. But until then, we'll see ya. Bye.